Hey guys, my name is Julia and I'm the creator of Crazy Pepper channel. Today we will discuss the story you sent me. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, like the video and leave a comment down below. So let's start it.
I was shocked when I caught my wife with him in my house. My wife and I had a wonderful courtship. I felt as though we had so much in common. I was the happiest man on earth. When a couple of months after we got married, everything changed. My sister got married, and my wife's feelings were hurt as she was not invited to be in the wedding. Shortly after, my wife told me that she overheard my mother telling some of the other wedding party that she was just a gold digger and not very pretty, and definitely not good enough for her son. It has been a living nightmare ever since. A full-blown competition to see who can hate the other more. My wife all but stopped having love with me because she was mad at my mother. Our entire first year of marriage, we had closeness only 4 times. She says it was because I didn't stick up for her enough. But I was doing my best to keep some semblance of peace I could between my wife and extended family. Well, as you can probably imagine, as a man in my late 20s who was constantly arguing, she said, between my wife and parents, barely getting any action at home, and surrounded by attractive females at my job, I started fantasizing about a different life. Over the next few years, I had 2 one-night stands and would eventually have to meet that reckoning. My wife wanted to start a family, and I was more than eager. I had always wanted kids, and in some twisted way also probably hoped it would cement our marriage. We had 2 wonderful little girls 2 years apart. Then, one Mother's Day, I lost it. I had invited my mother to come over to our house, where she and my wife began attempting to out-disrespect the other. Another pissing contest to see who was more in control over me, and whose side I would take. And a huge argument ensued between them. I remember tears, feeling helpless and trapped, and briefly contemplating blowing my brains out just to end it all. Quickly, my love for my kids grasped me from my self-pity tantrum. I thought of Nietzsche and being a man for a change. I decided right then and there I was just finished. Over the course of the next week, I found an apartment and had one of my best friends help me move an adequate portion of our furniture there. Total waste of money, because I usually come home to sleep with my kids at night anyway. But in my mind, I was getting the ball rolling. My wife was completely shocked, begging my friend to convince me to come back. She even started seeing a counselor to work on her issues with my mom. They actually attempted to mend fences, and my mother said that period was the nicest she ever had been. I had been low levels flirtatious with a pretty young woman at work, and I instantly ramped it up. We started emailing, flirting more at work, very stupid, and actually made out a couple of times. Then my wife discovered the emails. Now the ultimatum was thrown back at me. My girls were young, and I knew I would miss them dearly. The thought of another man possibly moving in and living around my sweet, innocent little girls also petrified me. I took them for a drive, and we had a long talk. I promised them that I would never, ever leave them. I ended it with the work colleague, broke my lease, and had my friend help me move everything back home. I committed to working things out. I still loved my wife. I just wanted the animosity between her and my family to cease. They didn't have to like each other, just be civil. Now I had to deal with my infidelity and the girl from work. Although we never had intercourse, I never even removed my clothes. It didn't matter. I cheated. We started couples counseling, and I revealed my 2 previous indiscretions. For the next couple of years, I endured daily reminders of what a piece of stuff I was. Vindictive, venomous, stinging reminders of the dirty, lying dog I was. I believed it all, too. Repeatedly pumped for details, demanded to justify my lack of soul. She told all of her family and friends everything. She didn't think she could ever trust me again. This had become my burden to bear, I told myself, so long as I wanted to keep my promise to my girls. My friend, who had helped me move with the apartment, still came around from time to time, and my kids were close friends with his kids. Although always eager to knock me back down a couple of notches, my wife became particularly vicious with her words towards me when he was there. This escalated over months. My friend and I live 5 minutes from each other, so it was never a surprise for him to come by and drop off this or that. But one day, I came home. He and my wife were sitting outside talking, and he just had a strange look on his face. I would characterize it as part surprise, part guilt. The next time he came over, it was to show me his new Harley. My wife had never ridden on a Harley, and she asked if I minded if he took her for a ride. I said, sure, no problem. They were gone for an hour. Yeah, not the ride I had in mind. Now my suspicions are up. So I start asking her some questions, and get told it's my guilty conscience. Maybe I'm screwing around on her again. I'm the scumbag cheater, not her, etc. Soon after, I was downloading the pics off our digital camera, and I saw a picture of the two of them sitting on the tailgate of his truck parked in the middle of our front yard. The pic was taken from inside the house, so I asked my 8-year-old daughter if she knows anything about it. All she said was, "I took it, Daddy. Tony has been coming over a lot lately." Not even a month later, our two families were taking the kids on a river float trip and had the cabins already reserved. So I keep my mouth shut and play along. The final night, the kids went to bed and we 3 adults were sitting on the outdoor deck talking. My wife was a little tipsy and starts in about cheaters and what an a-hole I am. She then shifts gears and insists that I start drinking. At first I decline, but she seems genuinely irritated, so I grab a beer and pretend to imbibe. After several beers stealthily poured out, we move inside and I call it a night. I head to the bedroom and silently lie down in the pitch black, listening to every word. The banters and laughs gradually diminish to whispers. Then I hear the smooching sound of kisses. Heart now racing, I silently rise from the bed and glide over to the door. As I step around the corner, he is sitting with legs spread and she is standing between them, leaning over, lips locked. I can distinctly recall the French kissing motion of their bulging, undulating cheeks. The look on his face was priceless, especially as I strode over to the table and picked up my bag containing my .38. She immediately began mumbling about trying to find something as she darted out the door and onto the deck. I slept that night with a .38 in my hand, pressed flat against my chest. The drive home with the kids the next morning was deafeningly silent. Once we returned home, I began some detective work and discovered from our phone bill that they had been texting each other daily for 8 to 9 months, up to 600 texts and 30 pics per month. I couldn't see any of the texts or pics, which is probably for the better. God knows what they were doing in my house while I was at work. But I know too. I'm sure they would disagree after reading all of this, but I'm not a complete moron. As to my initial reaction, aside from the obvious devastating sadness and betrayal from both wife and supposed longtime friend, was surprisingly relief. As you can imagine, the subject of her glaring hypocrisy immediately silenced her vitriol, so I'm no longer subject to that verbal offense. Listening to her make lame excuses for her behavior, particularly to our marriage counselor, after so many sessions of ripping me to shreds, I was drowning in schadenfreude. Honestly, I have yet to overcome it, but I'm working on it. I have a great relationship with my daughters, and that is all that matters to me now. I blame both of the women, and now I'm borderline misogynist, but mostly I blame myself for putting up with that childish crap for all that time.
And our last story.
My heart sank when I found out what my cheating wife was really doing at a nightclub while I was at home with our baby. Our relationship has been on the rocks for a while, but a few months ago we started counseling. And at the end of April, we told our therapist that everything was so much better and that we wanted to wait a few extra weeks before our next meeting. However, in May, she started spending more and more time away and staying out later, sometimes 12 to 3 a.m., at her weekly karaoke thing with her friends while I was home watching our 3-year-old. Then she started spending an extra night at karaoke and going to the pool with her friends on the weekends. After she told me that one of her other friends was leaving her husband for a guy she met on Facebook, I started checking up on my wife's texts and Facebook messages. She was talking to an old high school friend on Facebook who I did not know and who was asking to talk dirty to her. I found that she had been texting one guy in particular from the bar every single day for at least a month and visited to his house twice when she said she was going to the pool. I don't know everything they talked about as she deleted most of the messages, but I ordered a text history which showed numbers and times. I found a conversation with one of her girlfriends who called the guy from karaoke that thing you got going on the side, and another conversation where she said she wanted to cry because he was all over another girl. When I confronted her, she said she just wanted to be friends with him, but he had a boner when she left after her second visit to his place, and that ended their relationship since she felt like his motives weren't acceptable. As far as I can tell from her text message history, that really was the end of their relationship. However, I saw a message from him on Facebook a few weeks later, which she claims was unsolicited on her part. I asked her to block him, and she agreed. And after a few days, I went ahead and blocked him to see what she would do. 2 weeks later, she unblocked him. I haven't found other evidence that she's still talking to him, or that their relationship went any further than hanging out with his roommate at his house. But I feel very uncomfortable that she has unblocked him and continues to talk to his roommate. When I ask her to quit talking to his roommate and block the guys on Facebook who said they want to talk dirty to her, her response is that she can talk to whoever she wants. I also told her I wasn't comfortable with her continuing to delete messages from another guy who called to ask her out to the bar on a Friday night. So she changed his name to a girl's name in her phone so she could continue talking to him on occasion without upsetting me. They only text a few times, about once a week, but the fact that I feel she is hiding it from me makes me uneasy. In her defense, she has quit going to karaoke. She has unfriended the worst offenders on Facebook, though unblocked them. I have not seen evidence that she's talking to any of the guys who have hit on her. She has been home by 10 p.m. at the latest since I confronted her about staying out so late. As far as I can tell, she is just going to dinner with a girlfriend once a week now. However, because she has been deleting text and Facebook messages with a couple of these guys and maintains that she wants to still be friends with them, I am having a really hard time trusting that one of these relationships is not going to become something more if left unchecked. Part of me just wants to trust that she really will prevent these relationships from going too far. At the same time, I am reminded of so many close friends, and my mom, who ended up cheating on their spouses in relationships that started just as friends. I should also point out that I am not completely against her having guy friends, but the ones that I have not met make me nervous. She says she has invited them over for parties before, but plans haven't worked out. She is also planning an overnight trip to go clubbing at a city about 2 hours away next weekend. I have told her I'm not really comfortable with it, but I'm trying to trust that she will be faithful. So, I guess that this comes down to that I don't really think that she has physically cheated on me, or that she is setting out to cheat on me. But she thinks I am an overbearing tyrant for her wanting to end relationships with these young single guys who seem to have no respect for our marriage. All her friends seem to agree that I am a terrible a-hole, and all my friends think that these relationships are unacceptable, or at least suspicious and unwise.
Thanks guys for staying with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!